Hey, for those of you who weren't able to attend this weekend's group leader workshop, I wanted to spend some time today by recording the message that I gave this weekend to the group leaders who were able to attend. And so, thank you first off for those of you who could make it. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope that our time spent together was helpful. I hope that the vision that you heard was beneficial for you and helping to grasp just how big and how wide this ministry that we call small groups can go, and also tools for how we're going to get there. And so for this video really is for those of you who weren't able to attend, but I want to catch you up. And so I hope you'll take this time. I don't know how long it's going to take, 15 minutes or so. And so just put some earbuds in, put your cell phone device in your pocket and go for a walk or wash the dishes or whatever you're doing. Just listen as I share with you about the vision for small group ministry at Grace Point Church and how we're going to get there. And as I was preparing for this talk, I was telling everyone that I really found myself drawn to the beginning of Abram's story. It's a familiar story for most people. It's a compelling story. And when I think about the calling of Abraham to get up and go into a foreign land, I'm reminded of my own calling to get up and to go, to venture into unknown territory, and that it's normal, right? It's normal that when you venture into new territory to be a little terracited. It's both terrifying and it's exciting. That's what it means to be terracited. A lot like becoming a parent for the first time. You're terracited. You're elated. You're excited, but you're also very, very terrified about this new role and responsibility that you have in your life. And so that's what we're called to do. And it's normal. It's normal to be called into something risky, or to feel terracited, to be called into something risky and to move forward not having all the answers and not knowing all the steps, but just having a deep and abiding conviction that the road I'm headed on is exactly where God is leading me, is leading us. And so what I want to do is just make some observations about Abram's life and connect his life to the ministry of small groups and see what we can learn about this blessing of calling and risk. And then as a part of the time that we had in the workshop, I also did a demonstration of the new group management system. I'm not going to do that for you here in this video, but I am going to send you an email with steps. And in the steps, you're going to be able to log in to see your small group and manage the group members and all of those good things. All right. And so in Genesis 12, we're introduced to Abram. And this is where God says to Abram, leave your country and your people and your father's household and go to the land I will show you. But before we go on from there, what I want to do just for a moment is I want to back up and just pause and go back just a few verses into chapter 11 and suggest to you that Abram's story really doesn't begin with him. It begins with his dad. If we back up into the end of chapter 11, the text says that while Abram's father, and his name is Terah, was still alive, he took Abram and some of his relatives, and he left his homeland to go to this land of Canaan. At the time, when Abram was just a little boy, they were living in the southeast region of Mesopotamia in an ancient land, village called Ur. It's Ur. So Abram's dad has this vision of this land of Canaan, and he takes off for the land of Canaan, but in order to get there, he was going to have to go up and over the desert. He couldn't go through the desert from the east to the west. He would have to go up and over through the Mesopotamia and this river basin area where the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers runs, and which is a very lush land. And it says in the text, it says that when they came to the land of Haran, they settled there. So before Abraham was Abraham, he was Abram. He was Terah's son, and we really don't have any idea as to why Terah leaves his community, because the text really doesn't tell us, but we know that the Lord spoke to him, or we don't know if the Lord spoke to him, I should say. We don't know if the Lord told him to leave. We don't know if he was in some kind of trouble, or if he saw a travel brochure about a beautiful land in a faraway place at the local travel agency. You get the idea. We don't know his reason for leaving, but it's clear he had something significant in mind. He had a vision of a preferred future, and it didn't include where he was living right now. And so he had a destination in mind, and that destination was Canaan. Canaan was the goal. And so one day Terah rents a U-Haul, and he loads up the wife and kids, his nephew, and sets out for Canaan. But he doesn't make it to the goal. He doesn't make it to his destination. He gets about halfway and he stops and he settles in this place called Haran. And even though Haran in Hebrew, strangely enough, means parched, from what I can tell, it was far from it. Geographically, Haran is located near major sources of water flowing from the Euphrates River. It's a great place to live and raise a family and to grow crops. And I had this thought. I thought, was Terah wrong for settling? Was he wrong for settling? And I don't think so. I believe that Terah did what he thought was sensible. He settled in a place where he could live and live well. It just made sense to slow down and plant roots there. Life would be good for them in Haran. It would be it would be a nice place. And so even though he may not have reached his ultimate destination, halfway really wasn't looking too bad from his point of view. You know what I mean? And so let me connect this to where we're at with small group ministry. You need to know that I don't consider myself a visionary leader. At least I don't think I'm the kind of person who has enormous visions that take years or take decades and millions of dollars to accomplish. I think I'm the kind of leader who would rather put feet to vision, right? I'm the type of person who catches vision, and I'm not necessarily the one who casts it. But when I reflect on where I got to be in my own life for today, I realize that the significant moments in my life that got me to where I am started out as vision. I remember when I was in high school and I was watching an NFL football game on a Sunday afternoon, and at one point, a player got injured on the field, and they were taking a television timeout, and the training staff ran out on the field. And I remember in the moment, I jumped up off the couch, and I pointed my finger at the television screen, and I shouted, "That's what I want to do with my life." And I watched as these athletic trainers ran out on the football field to take care of that injured player. And I went to college to become just that. And for a number of years, I was living my dream as an athletic trainer. I never dreamed at that time that I would leave a great career, right? I would get up and go back to school to become a pastor, but I did, because it all started off with an idea, a question. And some of you have heard that. You've heard me tell that part of my story when I distinctly remember talking to my wife and saying, wouldn't it be awesome if I could read the Bible in its original language, And she said to me, "Josh, I love you, but that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life," And we had a good laugh about that. But I did. I left my career in sports medicine, and with my wife and 2 little ones in tow, we left. We left Wisconsin to move to Michigan with no place to live and no support, no jobs for us. I don't recommend that. By the way, I don't recommend that you just get up and go unless you're absolutely clear that you're called to do it. We did it, and we did it Terah-sided. We were excited and we were terrified. And in 2011, after our 3rd child, Abigail, was born, Jacqueline and I, really it started out in Jacqueline's heart. But we dreamed about what it would look like to expand our family by adopting a little boy from Ethiopia. And we were completely unprepared for what was ahead, and we were exhausted of traveling down what seemed like an unending road for 4 years, but we did it. We took the risk, we went for it, we prayed through it, and it was Terah-siding. And we trusted. We trusted that what God had called us to do, He would see it through. And I imagine that this is true for you as well. You have mental pictures. That's what a vision is a mental picture. It's an idea of what could be for your personal or professional life. You've had visions of owning your own business or changing careers, or perhaps you've had visions for your kids and their futures. And we all wonder, right, what could be. God's wired us this way, and you know that when this happens, you have a choice to make. Do you step toward that vision or do you ignore it? So we have a choice to make. And when I come across a story like this one, I wondered, what about the vision of Canaan, right? Did Terah forget that Canaan was his destination? Did he get lost? What happened to make him stop halfway? And so when we talk about small group ministry, I want us to have this God-sized vision in mind for why we have small groups. And I don't want us to go halfway. I'm tremendously blessed to be a leader of leaders like you because you do so much ministry with very little training. And I brag on you all the time about that. You do so much with so little. And I have the opportunity, friends, to connect regularly with area pastors who do what I do. And we talk about discipleship and we talk about small groups. And when we get together and I hear them talk about how their small group ministry struggles with engagement, or they struggle with getting people in a group, or they struggle with the mission or the vision, or they say they're going to try this next new program to get people interested, my heart goes out to them because we don't have that here. We don't share in that struggle. We have different challenges that are before us. We are blessed to have 270 plus adults engaged in 38 small groups. And if you do the math, that's about 70% of our adult population. And that is amazing. It's amazing because of people like you. Our numbers are incredible because of you. And your group members love your groups. And we know this because they tell us. Every year we do this spiritual growth assessment, and here are some of the things that people are saying. Here's what one person says. They said, quote, "We had taken a couple years away from our small group and have rejoined." Awesome. And this has been a wonderful blessing. From the first day we were back, it felt like we never left. It's good to have our people back on a regular basis, end quote. Here's one a little more generic, but still very applicable. Small groups means growing, or they appreciate growing and cultivating positive spiritual relationships with fellow believers. That's a great statement about why small groups exist. Here's what one small group leader says about their own group. "I feel more connected to my small group family because we have lived life together. We have learned, laughed, cried, disagreed, stumbled, and celebrated together. These experiences have brought me closer to God and helped me to see others through a lens of love and caring." And so your group members and group leaders are saying wonderful things about what they see God is doing in their lives through the small group ministry. And I have no doubt that we're going to continue to hear quotes and stories just like this in the years ahead. And so here's the vision for us as a ministry. When I think about our city, Topeka has about 400 or so distinct neighborhoods, and I can't help but wonder what it would look like to have a small group in every neighborhood. 400 small groups, one for every neighborhood, so that those who have yet to experience the kind of connection and care that you give have the opportunity to do so. That's the kind of vision that gets me terror-sighted, all right? It's a big, hairy, audacious goal, and it's the kind of vision that will not be realized in my lifetime. I realize that probably getting 400 small groups that are led by Grace Point people is not something that is going to happen in my lifetime, but I'm quite convinced that it can happen. And it's going to happen when we work toward this goal together. And you might be asking yourself, then how is that going to happen if this is where God is leading? How are we going to get there? And the first step is always, it begins with you and me. It's you. You are the answer. I am the answer. You are going to get us there, because we're going to pick up where those who got us to this place left off. We're not going to settle for a comfortable existence halfway, right, in a small group. And as I was preparing for this talk, this thought came to mind, and I wrote it down, and I just really want to share with you this. Here's what I wrote in my notes. We're tempted to believe that the blessing to be found in a group is community. And certainly community is a blessing, right? Community is a blessing. There's no doubt about that. But there's another blessing we miss out on if we stop halfway. There's another blessing to be experienced when it comes with multiplication. It's the blessing of knowing that hundreds, if not thousands more people will find care and connection in biblical community. It's the blessing of multiplying community through small groups. And so that's the vision, is to move toward this blessing of multiplying community through small groups. And you know this, and I know this, that people in our church are hungry for friendship. They're dying for a friend. They're looking for community, for someone to care about them, to help them grow. And if we don't multiply our groups, then they won't, right? If we don't multiply our groups, then they won't experience that care and connection that they're looking for. And so they're going to go someplace else to find it. They won't experience the blessing and care that we take for granted. And so I hope you're listening closely, friends. You and me, we are simultaneously our greatest asset and our biggest threat in this ministry. When we lose sight of the reason of why we do small group ministry, we're tempted to believe that we've arrived at our destination when really maybe we've only gotten started or we've only made it halfway. There's a blessing yet to be experienced when a small group gives birth and multiplies another small group, and that group then gives birth to a small group and multiplies. And so there's just this ongoing cycle, this ongoing process of groups multiplying and reproducing groups. And you know, it wouldn't be until Abram at this point was 75 years old and his father had died when God would speak to him and say those words, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go into the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing, and all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you." So Abram's dad never made it to Canaan, but that seed was planted in Abram when he was a little boy, when he made the trek from his hometown of Ur to Haran, where they settled. And it's almost as if Abram was picking up where his father left off. The vision doesn't seem to change. It was the same. And God called Abram to get up and go, and so he did. He took a risk, trusting that God would see him through because it was God who called him in the first place. And so if we're going to see 400 or 200 or 100 or maybe 75 small groups, we have to grasp hold tight of this vision of multiplication, of getting up and going and doing the hard work and taking the risk so that those who aren't in a group can experience the love and care that we often take for granted. And so here's how I want to close. I just want to close with a few thoughts on discerning if your group is ready, leaders, to multiply. Because the truth is, multiplication is hard. It's going to be one of the most challenging things that you will ever do as a leader in ministry, is to multiply yourself, to multiply your leadership in your group, and to bless someone on purpose and to start a new group. And it's hard because it means that people you love and care about the most are leaving on purpose. And the only reason, right, that anyone would ever do that is because they too have a God-sized vision and heart, and they believe it's worth pursuing. So we know this, multiplication, small group ministry isn't about crowd management. It's far from it. It's about multiplying care and community on purpose. So here are 8 things that I jotted down. I have 8 things and 2 questions for you. 8 indicators that your group may be ready to multiply, and I'm just going to rattle them off really quick. 1, if your group has more than 12 adults attending regularly, your group is ready. 2, your group has been together for more than 2 years. 3, if you're asking me or anyone in the church to host your group in the church building instead of your home, that's an indication your group is ready to multiply. If you have a hard time saying no to new people coming into your group, right? If your group sees the need to connect new people, or if you think there is someone in your group that is spiritually more mature than you and should be leading your group instead of you. I think we all occasionally we get that, or there's somebody that comes into our group, right, where you're like, boy, maybe you should be leading this group because you are way more spiritually mature than me. And so if you have that person, they may be a really good small group leader for you to develop. Number 7, even in passing, and in that one conversation around the dinner table or over coffee, you mentioned to someone in your group that they should lead a group. And lastly, 8, if you already have a co-leader, even in an unofficial capacity, it means that your group is probably ready to multiply. It gives you the opportunity to send them out, to bless them, and then to invest in a new co-leader. And so my 2 questions for you as we close are, how will you know when your group is ready to multiply? And how can I help you accomplish this? Thanks for hanging in here with me for this video. I want to help you, and I want to serve you, and I want to see this vision realized. I want to see us go from 38 groups to 76 groups, and just continue to bless and multiply people by providing a place of care and connection and growth for those people who are looking for it, and they want it, and they want to be a part of something amazing, and they know that small group ministry here at Grace Point is amazing because you are amazing. And so thank you for your time, and let me know, how will you know when your group is ready, and how can I help you accomplish it? Thanks. Take care.